In this, the first episode of what we will be referring to as the Legends of the Long War, a series of videos focusing on famous characters and events within the 40k universe, we look at Chaplain Ortan Cassius, also known as the True Believer. As the senior chaplain and master of sanctity of the Ultramarine chapter, Cassius is admired by his battle brothers, as he is feared by the enemies of the Imperium. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. Chaplain Cassius is currently the oldest active member of the Ultramarines chapter, excluding their Primarch Robute Gilliman himself, who is not interred within the armoured chassis of an ancient dreadnought. He is not, however, without bionic improvements, and what little of his natural skin can be seen amongst his life-sustaining implants is gnarled and battle-scarred, his one good eye burning with unfulfilled justice. Though Cassius is now many Terran centuries old, his arm remains strong and his aim remains true. His impassioned speeches have carried the Ultramarines into battle on thousands of worlds, firing his battle brothers' souls with his own deeply held passion and belief. Even at nearly 400 standard years old, his sturdy presence on the Ultramarine line of battle still fills the hearts of his younger brothers with pride and valour. Ortan Cassius is a warrior of impressive presence, even for a scion of Ultramar. His gaze is as cold as the void, and it is said that he could stare down a pack of Denorian clawed fiends with the intensity of his contempt. Though it is in battle that the fires of his fury are hot enough to inspire all who hear his ominous tone. Cassius was put forward as an exemplar of Imperial values by the Lord of Macragge himself, and rightfully so. Since his induction into the Death Watch, his inspirational hatred of the Xenos has galvanized every operative he has ever spoken with. In mankind's eternal crusade, such burning conviction is the greatest weapon of all. As a survivor of the First Tyrannic War, Chaplain Cassius fought alongside the chapter master Manius Calgar against the Tyranid forces of Hive Fleet Behemoth. He barely survived the failed rescue attempt of the doomed First Company at the polar fortress of Macragge during the conflict. Cassius was laid low by a rampaging Carnifex, and managed to sustain himself through the application of his formidable will until such time as the chapter's apothecaries could tend to his ruined body. He is now kept alive by extensive bionic enhancements, and what little of his organic skin remains on his body is gnarled and battle-scarred. His hatred for the Great Devourer forever smoulders below the surface. In 745 M41, Hive Fleet Behemoth made the Tyranids' first contact with humanity when its massive swarm assaulted the eastern fringe of the Imperium of mankind and made rapid progress towards the heavily populated realm of Ultramar. The resulting conflict will come to be known as the First Tyrannic War. Upon learning of the threat posed by the monstrous Xenos, the Ultramarine chapter master Manius Calgar drew up plans to defend his chapter's realm. Deeming Macragge to be the star system most vulnerable to the tyrannic menace, Calgar ordered the already formidable defences of Macragge to be further improved. Calgar declared that the Hive Fleet would be halted at Macragge before it consumed more of Ultramar, and drove deeper into the heart of the Imperium. A few weeks later, the Outrider vessels of the Tyranid Hive Fleet attacked the Ultramarines' homeworld, unleashing the infamous Battle of Macragge. The Hive Fleet was defeated after the Emperor-class battleship Dominus Astra intentionally detonated its warp drive, creating a warp vortex that destroyed the majority of the Hive Fleet. It was at this point that Calgar's surviving starships came around and roared back to Macragge to try and save the chapter's besieged polar garrison. Chaplain Cassius led the attempt to rescue the first company at the northern polar fortress. Few of Cassius' companions emerged unscathed from the frantic close-quarters combat. It was only at a great cost of life did the Ultramarines hunt down the Tyranid invaders and exterminate them. Following Cassius' injuries, the chapter's apothecaries rebuilt his shattered body with extensive cybernetics, eventually enabling him to return to active duty. Filled with new fire and purpose, the ancient chaplain felt that he had been blessed with a revelation as he lay dying. He came to believe that the Tyranids' assault represented a rightful punishment for mankind's lack of vigilance, and in Cassius' eyes, there was no greater calling than to purge the Xenos from the universe. In the aftermath of the battle for Macragge, the Ultramarines were faced with the Herculean task of rebuilding the most experienced body of veteran warriors, the First Company. Responsibility for this fell to Chaplain Cassius, whose hatred for the Tyranids and all they had done to the Imperium knew no bounds. Cassius petitioned Manius Calgar for the authorization to raise a new body of Ultramarines drawn from the ranks of those Astartes who had survived the First Tyrannic War. Only those Marines who had been tested like he had been could truly understand the threat posed by the Tyranid aggressors. Calgar eventually agreed to the grizzled chaplain's request. With the chapter master's sanction given, the chaplain gathered his core of Tyranid war veterans. Under Cassius' leadership, those battle brothers who had fought the hardest against the Tyranid swarms that had assaulted Macragge were elevated and afforded additional duties, until each was eventually judged worthy of joining the ranks of the reconstructing First Company. Initially few in numbers, each clash by the Ultramarines with the Tyranid high fleets provided new Astartes for the cause. Cassius' followers have become an ever more influential faction within the ranks of the Ultramarine chapter. Though a minor deviation from the Codex Astartes, Manius Calgar tolerates his old mentor's divergence from its sacred texts and admits that Cassius' tyrannic war veterans may be the key to final victory. Cassius has had further run-ins with the Tyranids and their allied creatures in recent years. At some point in the late 41st millennium, Cassius led his fellow battle brothers in a series of desperate battles to purge the Genestealer cults from the world of Torhaven. Later, Cassius fought with other elements of the Ultramarines chapter on the planet of Colovan against the Tyranids of High Fleet Kraken. It was there that he killed the Swarm Lord that was later reincarnated on the Tyranid hive ships, made even more deadly by the memories of its experience fighting Cassius that were restored by the hive mind. When going into battle, as well as the standard chaplain outfitting, Cassius also wields Infernus, which is his master-crafted combi flamer, crafted and sanctified by Cassius himself. Infernus' bolter is loaded with specialized hellfire bolts, whose warheads are filled with powerful mutagenic acid. Since the events of the First Tyrannic War, every one of these rounds has been painstakingly inscribed by Cassius, with the name of an Ultramarine battle brother slain by the Tyranids. And that will bring us to the end of this video on Chaplain Ortan Cassius of the Ultramarines. I hope that you've enjoyed learning about the events of his long life. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is the first of Legends of the Long War, so expect a lot more videos focusing on heroes or famous events of the 41st millennium. If there is anyone or anything you would particularly like me to cover, let me know in the comments. But for now, I will say thank you very much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video, and it really does help the channel if you do that. But thank you very much for watching again, and I will see you in the next video.